Amma Namaha. My prostrations at the holy feet of Amma, and to all of you here today. It's wonderful to see so many bright, smiling faces here. I must admit, sometimes when you're walking along and you're ready to smile at the wonderful youth of today, it's like it's hard to see because everyone's looking down at their cell phones. But now I have you here for 1 hour as a captive audience, so I'm very happy about that. So it's beautiful that you've come here, so young, in the prime of your life. I came when I was 22 and I felt that was fairly young, but I know there's many of you that are younger than that. Like, what is the age group of people that are here? 15? Put your hands up. A couple of 15, 17 to 20. Wow, see there, youngest one at the front. Good. He's going to soak in all the wisdom and become the greatest. So you are so lucky to be here because thousands of people all around the world really are crying every day because they can't be here. They love Amma so much. They may have met her somewhere in the world, sometime at their life, and they just long for this place. And here you are. You're so great to be here at such a young age, so you should be very happy about that. Congratulations for that. Yes. So there are many famous pilgrimage places all around the world, but really this one is truly the greatest of all because here we have a living Mahatma, someone that has realized the highest goal of a human existence is to reach that state of God realization. And Amma has reached that on this very land. I mean, just over at the beach. When she was young, she used to go to the beach every night. And Amma said that she would take a little bit of bread with her and a bottle of water, and she would make a flower garland, and she would offer it to the sea. Every night she would go over there because she wanted to give something. But then, you know, she laid down in samadhi, or she would dance in bliss on the ocean side and walk along there every day to her grandmother's house where she would help with housework, walk back. So every grain of sand on that beach side, which is spread all over this area, is totally imbued with the bliss and the divine blessings of Amma, and even the grains of sand that went into building this place. That is all like totally imbibed. Everything and everyone should be able to imbibe that bliss and those blessings that Amma has put into that sand. You know, here, tears used to soak the grains of sand, and that is the building block for this whole place. That's why anything associated with Amma, with the organization, with the institute here, is successful. And you have that success waiting for you too, so be very happy about that. You've found gold right at the beginning in your life. You know, people long for success. They spend their whole life working, doing so many things. But right from the beginning, you reached Amma's feet. And that's like finding gold in this life. So it's a very special thing. So spend your gold wisely that you have. When I was young, I remember the one thing that I never wanted to be was a teacher. Up in front of a group of people, I couldn't think of anything worse because you were supposed to have, you know, organize your lessons, which I usually leave it to the last minute, which you can probably find, you know, and then I thought, never would I want to be a teacher, but here I am. And even as a young person growing up, I would never have thought that I would be a nun in a monastery as well. I can't even tell you some of those stories, but here I am, a nun in a monastery, so life never turns out how you think it's going to, but there are wonderful blessings along the way. I don't know how much I can actually teach you because, you know, you've got to learn from life's experiences yourself. People can tell you things, but unless you go through things yourself, it's really hard to learn something. So I know you've got many educated and experienced people that are giving you talks in these couple of days. Especially, you know, I look forward to the Major General's talk, where that should be very interesting. I was just a little bit afraid that he might tell you too many top secrets, and then, you know, they might have to shoot you before the end of the program if you found out all of those secrets. But, you know, we do have a lot of commandos around with guns, so let's hope his talk is not too many top secrets in there for you. But, you know, even those commandos, I have to tell you a secret, because one of those commandos I have is a doorman. He's always waiting outside my door to protect me from the terrorists. But, you know, I think I found out the secret that they don't really have bullets in their guns. They're just holding them like that, so don't worry. And then even I was thinking that if they did shoot something, you know what you can imagine in our ashram that would come out of that gun? All over the place would be the little white flowers of peace, that paper flowers that, you know, they've got stuffed inside, and when they shot it, and then only would come out like Amma's meditation, the white flowers of peace. So don't worry, you're safe here. So I belong to a very unique group of people around Amma, even amongst you here. I'm in that uneducated group because I never finished school. I probably, you know, got more education than you down there, but probably not than anyone else. I left school when I was 16, but I'm in that unique set with Amma. She's the only other one that is uneducated around here, and I wouldn't swap that for anything in the world, because to be in that little group with Amma, it's like there are times that, you know, I didn't get my education, but Amma is giving that education of life. And there are times when I feel like I'm one of the most blessed people in this world to have the chance to come so close with her. And all it took in my life was not education, but sincerity. By practicing a few good qualities, made me reach Amma's feet. So I'm happy that I've had the chance to be so close with her over 35 years, and it wasn't education that got me here. Not that I want to put you off, but just realize alongside with that, there's so many other things to learn from life. You know, Amma's like a perfume factory where she exudes the most beautiful and the most fragrant perfume in this whole world. And you just can't help it, but a little bit rubs off on us. So I know for me, people think, oh, Swamini, you're this and you're that. And, you know, many times people will praise you one day and blame you the other. But everything I've learned in this world is only from being in close proximity to Amma and hearing her talk things. So in that same way, you can leave this place when you have to go home, and you'll take a little bit of the fragrance of Amma with you. You know, that's the fragrance of selflessness and compassion. And they're some of the most important qualities that you can take with you in life. You can study lots of things, but, you know, selflessness and compassion is what Amma teaches more than anything. I truly believe that Amma is one of the greatest incarnations in this world that has ever existed. And we're so lucky to be with her, just a handful of people. And that relationship and bond that you make with her, even if you don't see her very often, you take that with you wherever you go in life. She's the universal mother. And what she's trying to teach us, you know, we should become like that too. Both men and women in the world need the qualities of universal motherhood. She shows us in very simple ways how to become like her and find the bliss that lies just underneath the surface of the world, where it's always there, but we just never really dig that deep. We're stuck on the surface always. But we do begin to find and experience it when we think good thoughts, perform good actions, and try to lead a good life. Amma never loves one person more than another, but you just have to find the way to tap into her grace. You can get her attention, but her grace is the most important thing. And that you can find wherever you are in the world, even if you're far away. Grace is what will make our life truly blessed. There's many young people that have grown up around Amma. There's even a few in the room at the moment, and they may have wandered out into the world, turned away from Amma for some time when they've become teenagers, done a few wild things. But, they've always come back. Amma always says to the parents when they worry about their kids, don't worry, they will come back. And when they come back, they've had that foundation laid in their life of good qualities. So even if you go out in the world and you want to forget about Amma for a while, it's like you have to come back. Because the only way to be successful in this life is to practice the good qualities that she teaches you. So it's Amma that really makes our life blessed. Even when you do small things, it doesn't take something big. Just small things, a little bit of kindness will truly make you great. There was one photo first. Maybe you've seen now there's 5, I think. There's 5 large photographs of Amma on the entrance to the stage across at the ashram, and the stage in the back hall. And if you look closely, it's Amma's face made up of the images of 6,000 tiny photos are making up this one image of Amma. And when they made the first one and brought to Amma, they said, look, Amma, it's, the children that were fed by Amma, their first feeding ceremony, and they took that photo and they made it, a special technique that they have, so they made it into this image. And instead of Amma saying, wow, isn't that great? She's like, what about the others? Because she said, I've fed 25,000 children over 12 years. This is only 6,000. So they had to go back and make some more images to include all of the children. And that's what it really came to my mind, the expression like, no child is ever left behind. In the US, that's one of the army sayings, no man left behind. They'll always, go back for their colleagues if they're ever in any difficulties like that. But with Amma, it's like no child is ever left behind. She's really looking after you, and that's the love of a universal mother, can look after everyone all at the same time, no matter where you are and what you are doing. She knows that we're all connected. You can really connect with her. Everything in this universe is connected. It reminds me of one day when I heard a lady say something. She was saying, I can't hear you. Someone was telling her something. I can't hear you. I don't have my glasses on. We're thinking, what? Wait a minute. But, if you do wear glasses, sometimes it may be like that. Until you've got your glasses on, you've got to, complete the connection. So everything is connected in this world. And the love of a mother is so strong, one of the strongest things in this world. So strong that even, you can bring back to life. Amma has, when she was younger, I just saw her the other day, this young girl that when she had died, her grandmother brought her over to Amma. It says a story in Amma's biography, you may have read it. And this little girl had died, and the grandmother was so distraught, she brought her over to Amma. And Amma sat with the body for several hours in the gallery, and she actually brought her back to life. And that's the power of pure love in this world. And not only with Amma, but there's many stories you may see in the newspapers where doctors have delivered a baby and it's been stillborn, it's been dead at birth, and they have still been able to bring it back to life because, when they have given up with their medicine, they've put the baby in the arms of the mother, and she has loved and caressed and cried her tears, and after some time, amazingly, the baby's heart has started again. And that's the power of pure love in this world, stronger than any war that could be waged anywhere, or any weapons. The power of pure love is the greatest weapon of all. So when you give away love, you find that you gain so much. You gain everything. So, it wasn't actually the destiny. This young girl that Amma did bring back to life, she's a young mother now, but she's quite short. She never really grew because it wasn't destined in her life for her to grow and live. It was destined for her to die So the body never grew, but she's like a very short woman, but it just shows the power of love, even greater than, you know, the destiny of a soul to die and leave the body. That love kept her here on this earth. It's really rather amazing. So Amma tries to teach us what the real goal of life is. One day when we were traveling in the camper, there was a young boy, Siddharth. You probably know Siddharth. And he would travel with us for some years. Now he's too big, we had to kick him out of the camper, so he doesn't travel with us anymore. He's on the bus. But one day when he was in the camper, you know, Amma said to him one day, "Why were you born?" And of course Siddharth just opens his big eyes and looks up, and he was about 8 maybe at this time. And he didn't know. So she said, "Remember this, to know yourself and to help others." Now repeat this 5 times. So then he had to say, "I was born to know myself and to help others, to know myself and to help others." And I don't know if he's still repeating it every day of his life 5 times, but if you really understand that, that's the true meaning of life. So if you learn it while you're young, you know, you'll save so much time running around after everything else in this world. When we become selfless, helping others. So when we become selfless, then grace really does manifest in our life. I remember one time when we had much luggage to send to the US. When we do the tours, we have so much sound system, instruments, you know, Amma's things, cooking things for the Indian food they have to cook. We have so much luggage. It's really hard. We're always overweight luggage, and they charge a lot sometimes. So one year we were asking, can anyone take any luggage? And there was no one that volunteered to do it. But then suddenly this woman who had 2 children, 2 young children, they were under like 8, and she said, "Wait a minute, I can take some luggage. I can take 2 or 3 suitcases." And here she was, you know, the small child under one arm and the other one holding onto with her hand, and still she went out of her way to take her own luggage and luggage from the ashram. You know, when she got on the plane, checked in everything nicely, they looked at her ticket and they said, "Oh, madam, you know, we've actually had a lot of overbookings on the flight, so we've had to upgrade you to first class. You know, I'm sorry, you know, but if you walk down that way, we'll find your seat for you." And there she was in her Amrita Puri white clothes with a few stains on there from the children, and marched up to first class. She'd never been in first class before, but that's how you do get rewarded for grace sometime in your life. Rewards will manifest like that. And it's not the first time that people have got upgraded. There's many people that have told me they've helped carry something, and then they've sent me an email later saying, "Swamini, they upgraded me. It's so wonderful." So you'll find selflessness really does pay off sometimes. So there's so many desires that end up bubbling up in our minds. You know, there's one desire that I always feel that I'm sure none of you can probably relate to it because, you know, you have more important things to think about. But, you know, when I get a new tube of toothpaste, I get so excited because you're like, toothpaste, a new one. You know how once you start using it after a couple of days, you'll be like, oh no, like when is this toothpaste going to finish? You can't throw it out before the end because we've learned to be so thrifty. So you're down the end, squeezing, and then you're like, I can't wait for this toothpaste to finish, and then get a new tube, and then as soon as you finally get rid of it, you can happily throw it out, and you're like, new toothpaste, take that, and then the same cycle goes on and on and on. Does anyone else relate to that, or is it only me? Oh my goodness, I'm so happy that there are some other people that feel like that. I was thinking, I'm a really strange person in this world to be, you know, thinking like this about the toothpaste. But, you know, that's how the mind is. We're never dwelling in the present moment. We're usually thinking, if only we can get this, or when we get this, then we'll be really happy. That's just the way the mind wanders. But it's like we never can be in the present for very long. We never live there in the present. The mind is always wandering. Our main problem is We think we are the mind and it's telling us important things, whereas really it's not the truth. We're not this mind. You know, the mind's made up of 60,000 thoughts. Every day, around 60,000 thoughts are going round and round and round, leading us into trouble. That's the duty of the mind. You know, its duty is not take this person to the goal of realization, let them think good thoughts. That's another. The discriminative faculty of the mind, or the intellect may be like that. But the mind itself, these flow of thoughts, is always taking you away. So it's really the discrimination and the intellect that you have to grab hold of that. And when you grab hold of that, that's the only thing that can override the mind kicking in. So you've got to learn to train the discrimination and the intellect, and then only you can stop the mind and think something good. So, you know, why do we let the mind mislead us like this? So many innocent desires can fill up the mind, and they're good things when the mind has some innocent desire. I know there was one man, while we were in Ireland a couple of years ago, and Ireland is very famous for four-leaf clovers. So this man thought, I'm going to go outside and pick up a four-leaf clover and I'm going to give it to Amma. And he had just this innocent desire. And you know what happened? He went out there, leant down to the grass, picked it up, and he actually straight away found a four-leaf clover, and it was really miraculous. And he went inside and he showed Amma, and he got lots of attention, and she was very happy about that. So innocent desires do come true. There was another young man in Mauritius, and he would be in the debating club at his school. And he was always practicing, thinking, one day, hopefully I can do it for a program for Amma. And you know, a couple of years later, who should they invite to do the emceeing at the program? But they invited him to do it. So his dream really did come true. Good thoughts do come true. There was another lady that, she actually had a very interesting desire. We were in Singapore and she was traveling on the bus with the staff group going to the airport. And young little Siddharth was there and they were making him sing songs. So this lady asked Siddharth, you know, to sing a Jackson 5 song. You know Jackson 5? I hope it doesn't go too back in the past. But Michael Jackson and his brothers were a group. So she really wanted this song sung, Where There Is Love, I'll Be There. But he didn't want to do it. He said no. So when we're sitting at the airport waiting for Amma, who should walk up to us because they'd heard about Amma? But it was actually Michael Jackson's brother himself, the one that wrote the song, Jermaine Jackson. It's not that he really sang it, but it was just incredible. This woman is like, you know, like her dream did come true, that the person that actually wrote the song came and sat down next to Amma and spoke to her for a little while. So that was quite an amazing experience. One more example of, you know, I won't even tell you that the person in the room is even here who told me this story, how when they went back home, they really had this desire to have a cheeseburger, you know, get away from ashram food and have something really delicious from McDonald's. So they went into the shop and they made their order, and they were thinking about what to order, and then they're like, no, I should control the mind. Let me order French fries instead, because I really want a cheeseburger, but I'm going to put aside that desire and order the French fries. So they collected their order, and when they drove away, finally opened the bag to have a French fry after all. When they reached into the bag, what was in there? 2 cheeseburgers. This person was just so happy because even though they had tried to set aside the desire, when you really innocently try, you are rewarded. When you surrender, sometimes you get exactly what you wanted. So, you know, dreams like that do come true. Miracles happen. But what actually flows through Amma's mind is nothing about cheeseburgers or anything like that. But her mind is only consisting of the desire to give love and serve. So all her desires become fulfilled. You know, her desires are more like when we were in Japan after the tsunami there some years back. she wanted to get some roses so that she could give each person of the staff that was there a rose to offer into the ocean at that spot where the tsunami had happened. But she didn't want them to spend money on buying roses because in Japan, very expensive to buy anything. So what should happen, but someone came up for darshan just a few hours before we were ready to leave for this, but big bunch of roses they gave her, so she was so happy that her desire was fulfilled. Plus any desire that she really has, the very few times, is only for service. Before we were traveling to Sri Lanka, after the tsunami happened there, Amma wanted several thousands of sets of dresses, and she was wondering how she was going to do that. And quite naturally, people started sending in from all around the world, especially from the Gulf countries. When they received the packages, there were new saris and dhotis, and without her even having to do anything, it was totally fulfilled, her desire. 2,000 saris, right down to the exact number that she had thought. So we took that with us when we went to Sri Lanka, and Amma was able to distribute that to everyone. One other little desire that was in Amma's mind, well, it wasn't a cheeseburger, but this time it was an uni appam. So you know the uni appams, and Amma does, even though she doesn't eat when she sits for the darshan, and sometimes when she comes back to the room, she'll hardly eat anything at all. So Amma's attendant Lakshmi had kept her one uni appam. She thought, let her at least have something. If she's not going to eat anything, let her eat one. So, but then she made sure all the others were taken away. So Amma ate that. Of course, it's early morning after the end of the program, and then she said, I want another one. But, you know, Lakshmi was saying, there aren't any here. So at this time, I was actually staying in the next room, in the kitchen, and it was quite dark, but I could just see the shadows. So, you know, I'm kind of quietly quivering in the corner of the room when Amma comes out in the dark, and she's like, where are you? And she was just she went straight over to the table. In the dark, almost, I could just see the outline. She reached over onto the middle of the table, and she's like, there you are. You know what? She found one uni appam that was on the table that no one else knew about, and she's like, happily munched it and went off to her room. And the next day, like, everyone was so surprised because that one innocent desire of Amma's came to her. She got her uni appam after all. So everyone loves to hear miracle stories, but life is full of miracles every single day. The body pumping blood and oxygen throughout. You know, you get cut, the body heals itself. There's so many amazing miracles that happen, you know, and when we use our discrimination, we tend to see the miracles in life. So, the miracles are just surrounding us. If you look at nature, there are scientists that were studying aerodynamics. I read it in the newspaper once. These scientists were studying what is the most complicated but, you know, brilliant method of aerodynamics that was there in existence. You know what they found it to be? The housefly. The common housefly. They decided that system of aerodynamics was the most brilliant of all. Man could never even create anything like that. So miracles are everywhere in this world.
We were in Singapore, and she was traveling on the bus with the staff group going to the airport. And young little Siddharth was there, and they were making him sing songs. So this lady asked Siddharth, you know, to sing a Jackson 5 song. You know Jackson 5? I hope it doesn't go too back in the past. But Michael Jackson and his brothers were a group. So she really wanted this song sung, Where There Is Love, I'll Be There. But he didn't want to do it. He said no. So when we're sitting at the airport waiting for Amma, who should walk up to us because they'd heard about Amma? But it was actually Michael Jackson's brother himself, the one that wrote the song, Jermaine Jackson. It's not that he really sang it, but it was just incredible. This woman is like, you know, like her dream did come true, that the person that actually wrote the song came and sat down next to Amma and spoke to her for a little while. So that was quite an amazing experience. One more example of, you know, I won't even tell you that the person in the room is even here who told me this story. how when they went back home, they really had this desire to have a cheeseburger, you know, get away from ashram food and have something really delicious from McDonald's. So they went into the shop and they made their order, and they were thinking about what to order, and then they're like, no, I should control the mind. Let me order French fries instead, because I really want a cheeseburger, but I'm going to put aside that desire and order the French fries. So they collected their order, and when they drove away, finally opened the bag to have a French fry after all. When they reached into the bag, what was in there? 2 cheeseburgers. This person was just so happy, because even though they had tried to set aside the desire, when you really innocently try, you are rewarded. When you surrender, sometimes you get exactly what you wanted. So, you know, dreams like that do come true. Miracles happen. But what actually flows through Amma's mind is nothing about cheeseburgers or anything like that. But her mind is only consisting of the desire to give love and serve. So all her desires become fulfilled. You know, her desires are more like when we were in Japan after the tsunami there some years back. She wanted to get some roses so that she could give each person of the staff that was there a rose to offer into the ocean at that spot where the tsunami had happened. But she didn't want them to spend money on buying roses, because in Japan, very expensive to buy anything. So what should happen, but someone came up for darshan just a few hours before we were ready to leave for this, but a big bunch of roses they gave her, so she was so happy that her desire was fulfilled. Plus any desire that she really has, the very few times, is only for service. Before we were traveling to Sri Lanka, after the tsunami happened there, Amma wanted several thousands of sets of dresses, and she was wondering how she was going to do that. And quite naturally, people started sending in from all around the world, especially from the Gulf countries. When they received the packages, there were new saris and dhotis, and without her even having to do anything, it was totally fulfilled her desire. 2,000 saris, right down to the exact number that she had thought. So we took that with us when we went to Sri Lanka, and Amma was able to distribute that to everyone. One other little desire that was in Amma's mind, well, it wasn't a cheeseburger, but this time it was an uniappam. So you know the uniappams, and Amma does, even though she doesn't eat when she sits for the darshan, and sometimes when she comes back to the room, she hardly eat anything at all. So Amma's attendant Lakshmi had kept her one uniappam. She thought, let her at least have something. If she's not going to eat anything, let her eat one. So, but then she made sure all the others were taken away. So Amma ate that. Of course, it's early morning after the end of the program, and then she said, I want another one. But, you know, Lakshmi was saying, there aren't any here. So at this time, I was actually staying in the next room, in the kitchen. And it was quite dark, but I could just see the shadows. So, you know, I'm kind of quietly quivering in the corner of the room when Amma comes out in the dark. And she's like, where are you? And she was just she went straight over to the table. In the dark, almost I could just see the outline. She reached over onto the middle of the table and she's like, there you are. You know what? She found one uniappam that was on the table that no one else knew about, and she's like happily munched it and went off to her room. And the next day, like, everyone was so surprised because that one innocent desire of Amma's came to her. She got her uniappam after all. So everyone loves to hear miracle stories, but life is full of miracles every single day. The body pumping blood and oxygen throughout. You know, you get cut, the body heals itself. There's so many amazing miracles that happen, you know, and when we use our discrimination, we tend to see the miracles in life. So the miracles are just surrounding us. If you look at nature, there are scientists that were studying aerodynamics. I read in the newspaper once. These scientists were studying what is the most complicated but, you know, brilliant method of aerodynamics that was there in existence. You know what they found it to be? The housefly. The common housefly. They decided that system of aerodynamics was the most brilliant of all. Man could never even create anything like that. So miracles are everywhere in this world. You know, just a couple of days ago, someone gave me this little video clip where it showed this story about a doctor in Karnataka, and he treats people for free, and he does twice a week. He has a clinic, and about 1,000 people come for the clinic each week, and you know, he cures them of cancer just with the barks from trees in the forest. He'll only give them bark as a medicine. So he says when they come to him, someone asked him, what's the success of the cancer? And he says 60% is medicine and 40% is faith and hope. That's what cures them as well. It's almost like a placebo effect. But when you have that, you know, you can. Faith and hope is the added ingredient that really makes miracles happen. Every moment we can look at beautiful things in this life to see, but you've just got to have that mindset to see it. Some people don't notice and they go blindly along, mainly because they're looking at their cell phone, but there are many beautiful things to see in this world. And Amma says, just to do something good for someone, even for 1 second, isn't that a great thing? When we give to others, it really makes us feel so good, but you've got to make that effort. One of my favorite stories about effort is what I saw in a newspaper once, this article about a Korean lady that every day she would go for her driver's license. Every day, almost for 5 years, she failed 959 times, but the 960th time she went for her driver's lesson, she actually got it, and she was so happy. She never got disappointed. She never gave up. And so they had this article in the newspaper, 960 times it took her before she finally got. And, you know, you wouldn't want to be on the road with someone like that, I think. I don't know how well she could drive, but she just wanted to get a car so she could drive and see her family. It was so sweet to see how even people out in the world, some people have a great, you know, capacity to hold on to that effort. Effort is so much necessary in life for grace to manifest. Amma always says they must go together. And no matter what happens, you've got to have that positive attitude, whatever comes. There's one little joke I heard one day. I have to put one joke at least in here because I know Ramakrishna Swami is having a lot of jokes in that other hall there. So once there was a father mosquito, and he taught his baby how to fly. So the baby went off flying, and when he came back at the end of his first flight, the father said to him, "How was it?" You know what the baby said? "Oh, Dad, it was so great. Everyone was clapping for me." Yeah, I like that joke too. Yeah, it's as if you're going for the mosquitoes, but like that. Even when the world's out to get you, you just have that innocent attitude in your mind. And you can only be happy. It doesn't matter what other people think. They're caught up in their own world. You be happy. That's the most that you can do. You know, Amma's always happy wherever we go. Sometimes when we go traveling, it's like everything breaks down. We're in this big fancy vehicle, and they're very proud of telling me when we first got the vehicle, this is all electrical. And I was thinking, oh no, all electrical means, you know, when something breaks down, the electrics go, everything goes. And of course, they didn't think like this. They just wanted it fancy. So we're traveling, and one day the electrics goes, so there's no light. We had just arrived. So it's okay. Amma's like, you know, just by the phone light, she ended up combing her hair and getting ready. And she's like, it's okay. And then going to the bathroom. There's a bathroom in the vehicle, but one girl had just gone in, and, you know, this fancy vehicle, sometimes the doors just lock itself. So the bathroom door had locked itself. So we couldn't go to the bathroom. There's no light. But Amma's like, it's okay. You know, I don't need to go to the bathroom now. Luckily, Amma rarely goes to the bathroom. So she was just happy with her attitude. Or even when the lights go and they light an oil lamp, she's like, wow, this is just like it was growing up. You know, she sees the best in those things. So even one time we were we went to Ireland, and it's raining. It rains in Ireland nearly every day. So when the plane arrived, usually you have the connectors that connect you directly to walk into the airport. This one, old-fashioned, had the stairs, and we had to walk across the raining, wet tarmac. And we were like, oh, how could we do this to Amma? No one had umbrellas, but she's like, it's okay, it's just like it was when I used to walk to school in the rain, but just like this, because she doesn't actually get out and about to walk in the rain. So Amma always keeps that positive attitude. Whatever happens, everything is a blessing in disguise for us. There's one man once that told me he was driving home from a program and he was starting to get sleepy, and he just managed to go over the speed limit when suddenly the police pulled him over. But he was actually so happy for the officer to give him a ticket because it had woken him up and he could have had an accident otherwise, he realized. So it really saved his life. So there are times when even dreadful things that happen to us are only really to save our life. So we need to cultivate the correct attitude in life. When we experience pain in the body, you know, it's only telling us there's something wrong here. Something needs to be healed. So you feel the pain so you don't put more stress on that. If you've got something wrong with your leg and you've fractured it, there's so much pain in walking. So the body actually stops you from putting more weight on your legs. So it really saves you from harm. So just know that everything that comes has a good reason. I'm just told that life consists of only two things: performing an action and experiencing the results of that action. There's nothing else. So we can either sit back and wait for the experience of things to come, or you go on doing good things for the future. There's nothing else. You know, there's no free will. There's very little free will we have in this life, and everything is destined. So if you do good things, then those results will come back to you. If you do bad things, then you can't blame anyone else. We always tend to blame everyone else, saying it's their fault, it's not fair and all of this, but there are no accidents because everything is the karma that we make in this life coming back to us. Even science proves this. Newton's third law of motion. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction that comes to us. Even science has the same principles of spirituality. So Amma tries to inspire us to learn in life the two main attitudes. This is accept what comes and love yourself. Now, this doesn't mean looking in the mirror and admiring how beautiful you are, because I know you all are very attractive, looking good. You know, it means if you really loved yourself, how would you behave? You'd love everyone else because you know we're all connected. So really learning to love yourself means loving other people like you love Amma. You know, seeing everyone as one. But it takes a lot of effort to make the mind go deeper with discrimination to think like that. So many people say to Amma, I love you, I love you, I love you, but then the next minute if someone bumps into them, they'll be, get away from me, don't do that. It's like, how deep is that love? We've got to learn love on a deeper level. Amma says it's so easy to get God. To get the divine, even vision of the divine, it's not so difficult. But not to be pulled into the maya of this world, that is what is really difficult. People get caught up with their thoughts and feelings all the time, but these are all based on maya. So our whole life we spend like that. And we live with fear. But, you know, it's okay. Having a little bit of fear is sometimes good for us. Even Swami Vivekananda, he had fear when he traveled overseas for the first Parliament of World Religions. They told the story of when he was actually invited to give his speech earlier on in the program because they'd heard he was such a great speaker, but he was scared to death. He said, no, later. So even Swami Vivekananda, the lion of spirituality, even he was a little afraid at that time. But later on, when he did muster up the courage to give his talk, then, you know, the Guru's grace flowed through him. And, you know, the spectacular results from that. And he's become very famous even just from that. But he got over his fear. You know, there's so many people that we see in the world. Movie stars come to meet Amma. I've met so many movie stars, prime ministers, politicians, presidents. You know, and unless these people, they may be beautiful. But Madonna, when Madonna came, she's like exactly my age, I think, and she didn't have a makeup on, and I was like, wow, Madonna's not really much different to us, you know. If we had makeup on, some of us could look like Madonna too, well, with a little stretch of the imagination. But all of these great people you see on film, they come to Amma with their fears and their sorrows, and they cry, and they're like, they're no different to us. Everyone that is great in their field is there only because they put in that positive attitude. They tried hard. They used their imagination in a positive, good way, and they found success and the blessings in life from that. You know, and unless people are doing something good, then all of these famous personalities, they're really quite boring, I must tell you. The only exception I really found was like Dr. Abdul Kalam. We met with him several times, and he was so great. And when he spoke to Amma in the room, he would always look at me as well, and other people. Usually important people don't do this. They only speak with Amma, and they don't take in anyone else. But he was always so gracious, so loving, so just accepting of everyone. And because of that greatness, you know, he did so many things. But take even, you know, the scientist that he was, he helped to invent the bomb. You know, you would never have thought that. But that was just his job, his job that he did scientifically. In his mind, whenever we saw him, he'd be like, Amma, listen to the CD. It's all like music for flowers growing. He just had like flowers in his mind. There wasn't any bombs or destruction or anything, but such a humble person. And when we went for a walk in the garden, I'd actually left Amma's shoes in the car because I thought, oh, you know, it's hard to walk around with shoes when you're visiting the palace there. And so I thought Amma won't need them. But then when he told Amma to come for a walk in the garden, she's like, it's okay, I don't need shoes, I'm a village girl. And he's like, I'm not going to wear mine either, Amma, I came from a village too. So he kicked off his shoes, and the two of them went barefoot walking around the park. It was really beautiful to see because, you know, he's such a great, humble person. I don't know how much time I'm taking, I lost track of the time. So, you know, the great powers that you can get when you have humility and you study with a good attitude. One girl was telling me that there was someone that she even saw do this, or maybe she saw it on a video clip of this woman, but she knew this acupuncturist, and it was an old Chinese lady. And she said with the flick of this little white handkerchief that she had, she could throw, you know, a male person across the other side of the room with just this flick, because that much power is in their actions that she was able to do that. So you can accumulate so much if you really try with the right attitude. You know, there's this incredible source of energy inside of us, but we always look on the outside. We're always like taken with the advertising in this world. You think of, there's Johnson & Johnson company. I grew up with that as a child, and even now you think, oh, well, their products must be good, baby oil, baby shampoo, or whatever. You use the baby powder on children growing up. Now there's so many people going with court cases against them for developing cases of cancer that are being proven from coming from using their product. You know, it's incredible that we're so fooled by this advertising. I know in America there was this, sometimes you'd turn on the TV when we were in a hotel room just to see what was on a TV, and there'd be these adverts where they would show this this amazing shampoo with all these ladies with this amazing hair. And I thought, I've got to try that one day. You know, maybe it can do something for me, but, you know, not much hope with that. But later on now I see, after some time of thinking that in previous years, people are taking them to court because they're losing their hair. There are women coming and saying that, you know, this product is destroying my hair. And here you are thinking this is the best product ever. So we're so taken by the outside things. You've got to go deeper, deeper than all of these things in life. Difficulties in life that come to us, they can make us stronger. You know, there's one story about a priest that was thrown into jail for 40 days. And all he was given was this dirty piece of bread and some dirty water to drink, just a crust of bread. But every day he prayed over it. And at the end of 40 days, when he was finally released, he was actually more healthy than when he went in, only from the power of prayer. You know, it really happens. There was another news article about this man that was shipwrecked. Well, he was on a boat, and he was stuck on this boat out at sea for 76 days. That's a long time, and he only had some raw fish to eat, but he would catch the fish, and at the beginning he would just eat some of the raw flesh and throw the rest away. But after some time his body started to shut down, because you need more than just protein. You need minerals and essential oils in the body as well to keep it healthy. So his body was shutting down, and he just instinctively thought, I've got to eat the eyes. I've got to eat, you know, the other parts of, not the stomach, but the other parts of the fish that he would always throw away, the fish eggs or whatever, and then the marrow from the bones. And then what was actually happening instinctively was his body was telling him, you need this, you need this. So if you really listen with a voice of discrimination, it saved his life. And after 76 days, they rescued him, and he was actually quite healthy once they diagnosed, you know, how his health was, because his body was telling him. But this voice we shut out, it's there inside everyone. We carry it around with us, but it's always the other voices that we listen to. So the mind is wandering otherwise. So unless we develop shraddha, you know, you can't. When you've got that moment that you're having shraddha, the mind is not able to wander. There's some boys were telling when they're driving, Amma, the way that they get their awareness is by chewing chilies. You know, you've got to do something. That doesn't come on its own. The awareness, you've got to really do something to bring it. So they would eat a green chili, and then, of course, the fire in their mouth would keep them awake while they was driving. And one Japanese man was saying he used to pull the hairs on his leg to keep him awake, you know, because it would hurt so much, or he'd chew on a toothpick and then poke his tongue. But it's necessary, all of these things, to keep us awake. So Amma proves to us that energy in our life doesn't really come from food and rest, but from trying to do good things. You know, one man came to the ashram, and he was telling me the other day that he's traveled to a lot of spiritual places over the years, but 5 days with Amma over the birthday time, he said, was equal to years and years anywhere else. Meditation is difficult for some people to do, and that's why service is such a beautiful alternative. So there's one famous dancer that said she just couldn't meditate, but she says when she dances, she becomes one with God. And that is true meditation, becoming one with God. So even if you find it in your work, in your cricket sometimes, and you know, whatever you do with an innocent attitude, develop that awareness, and then you can take it with you, because you know how to suddenly get something and use it in other areas of your life when you really need it. So find your passion in life and follow that, doing something good, and you're here. You'll get so many blessings. You know, some people aren't able to give much, but they still try. I heard about one beggar that was in North India, and after the Japanese tsunami, this beggar said, you know, I don't have anything to give, but what I'm going to do is not beg from any Japanese people, because he thought, let them help their own country. So that was his way of offering. Even a beggar with nothing can offer that attitude of mind, and a simple thing. So that, you know, that's what makes people great in this life. So you can do that wherever you are, even if you have nothing. We spend our whole life reading and trying to learn things, but you never learn. The greatest thing of all is that we have to become the love that we're looking for. You'll never get it from the outside. You have to get it from the inside. And Amma doesn't read anything, but that's what she teaches us, how to truly become love and not just be a beggar looking for love. You know, she says, we're always unhappy. Someone asked her once, how to be happy, Amma? And she said, if unhappiness is not there, then one is happy. And if you look at that, the pendulum of the mind is always going from sadness to happiness. It's going back and forth. Once it goes to happiness, you know it's going to go back there once again. So the goal in life is to find that middle path. Find that middle path and not go to too many extremes. And then that equilibrium gives you the equilibrium in life that you really need. Just hold on for a little bit longer. I know some of you drifting away, but that's okay. Amma says that in today's world, we all want to be a king. But in the end, inside, we remain beggars. You know, we're always begging everyone for something, begging for love. We try to make the outside look attractive, but we neglect what's on the inside. We carry around this trash bag inside of us, this rubbish that outside is beautiful. Talk someone into marrying you, and then it's like, no, clean the insides as well. When you come in contact with your inner self, then you know everything spontaneously, like Amma does. She knows everything. Once someone went up to her and they got a translator to tell her, Amma, I'm leaving after tomorrow. And Amma said, no, you're not. And they were a little bit surprised. This man was saying, no, I have to go back to Lebanon and my flight is booked. I'm just informing you that I'm leaving. You know, he wasn't asking permission. And Amma said, no, you're not going. So he was so surprised. He went off to, anyway, there's nothing he could do. He went off to confirm his ticket. And then he found out there was trouble with the ticket and they cancelled his ticket somehow. And so he didn't end up going then, but Amma just spontaneously knows these things. Someone said once too that when Amma has her program in the San Ramon area in America, in California, they said there's a lot of accidents on the road at that time. And Amma said to this person, you look up the accident records at the time that Amma is there for her program and see what you find. And when this person, they really went to the trouble to do that, what did they find? That there were actually less accidents on that road at that time that Amma had her program. So Amma just spontaneously knows these things. One girl came to me once and she was really sad and she was so upset and she just wanted to call Amma from the phone in my room. So I let her call on the phone. But when Lakshmi answered the phone in Amma's room, you know, all of a sudden she heard, before she could even ask anything, she heard Amma say, where is that girl? She said her name, you know, where is Priya? And, you know, she was just so shocked and surprised that she heard Amma call her name that instantly she was just in bliss because she had the faith that Amma really does know everything about her and all of her problems, and she is thinking about her. So that was a beautiful example for her, made all of her sorrow going away. When you give love, you know, that's when you become connected to the whole world. And you gain everything. It's so easy to be spiritual and do things in the ashram and say your archana and meditate and try and do your japa, but it's hard to smile at people and be nice to people. And sometimes people out there in the world, they can actually be more spiritual than spiritual people. So don't believe that you have to live in an ashram. Some of our spiritual people can be pretty grumpy sometimes if you step on their asana or you take their spot. We'll see how deep the spiritual principles go. So don't feel that you're missing out because you can't be with Amma. You can have a closer connection than anyone even living in the ashram, because the spiritual qualities are to be nice and kind to people. I remember one year that instead of all of the VIPs, the most memorable people that I remember that tour were the maids in the hotel where we stayed, because they were so sweet. They'd heard about Amma and they made from the towels that they put in the hotel, they made them into the shape of a swans. And they had these swans and they wanted to give them to Amma when she came back from the program. And, you know, they met her in the corridor coming back and they're like, Amma, can we take a selfie with you? And people don't usually let them, but it was so sweet. Amma's like, okay. So they got their selfie with Amma and they gave her the swans. And it's like, you know, they were the most precious memory for me of that tour. Not all the important people and the great things that they do and the life that they lead, but simple, humble, sweet people who are kind and helpful. That is the greatest thing that you can ever attain in this life. There's people that sometimes you see those, yes. Everyone can be spiritual no matter where you are. Just aim to do good things. There's one man in America that every Sunday he goes out and he's a hairdresser, so he cuts people's hair. And he does that for the homeless people on the street. And that's his way of giving back. So it's not that you really have to do anything great. So when people ask Amma why she embraces, she replies, human beings are born to experience pure love, but they never get it. They're searching for it from birth until death. Amma's main purpose of interacting with people and embracing you is to awaken the pure love in you. Everything that we're running, looking for in the world and in other people is already contained within us, just in a dormant state. Everyone suffers because all our life we've let our mind run after trying to fulfill our desires. But Amma says, in today's world, both men and women need motherhood, some feminine energy. By receiving this energy, it will make you independent and free. The only way we can truly become free is by feeling the love within. Amma says that when she embraces you, she's also transmitting a part of her spiritual energy to you so you can awaken to this pure love. We usually only love and accept someone after judging them and their actions, but we love people only when they are what we want them to be. But the love of a universal mother like Amma is not subject to change and judgments like we make. There's once a very successful football coach, known for always winning. Vince Lombardi is his name. And in his last speech before he died, he wanted to share the key to success in any business. He said, heart power. Capture the heart, and you've captured the person. Now, it would seem that Amma must have read one of his books and got that message, but, you know, she just knows it intuitively. And this man, even though he was only a football coach, he learned that secret of capturing people's hearts. You know, and that's the true way to success in life. He was an ordinary man, but he became more spiritual than all of the yogis. Swami Vivekananda once said, I've experienced in my insignificant life that good motives, sincerity, and infinite love conquer the world. And Amma, in her own way, strong and humble way, is conquering the world and guiding everyone through life with the blessings of her universal motherhood. May you all feel the flow of her grace and the blessings wherever you go in life, helping you to find the true success that lies there waiting for everyone. Thank you for sitting with me today and being so patient. Om Namah Shivaya.